presenter is Doug Cogswell, CEO of ADVIZOR Solutions, the business visualization company, a pioneer company in this area of information visualization. Doug Cogswell brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our industry. Doug founded ADVIZOR Solutions in winter of 2003, and prior to this, Doug was president and CEO of Visual Insights, a web analytics software company. As you will see in his presentation and subsequent, ADVIZOR Solutions has a subsequent product demonstration. ADVIZOR Solutions has a diverse customer base and has developed a unique set of visual components for unique data display formats that address specific business performance needs. Doug?
Yes, thanks, Brian. So ADVIZOR Solutions is about using information visualization to enable people to make fact-based decisions through a highly intuitive and interactive front end. And in terms of business intelligence, we would really call this advanced reporting and analysis because it gives you that ability. And we complement data warehouses and reporting systems for world-class data display and interaction. So if there's two core capabilities we believe we have with our information visualization, it's the ability to display business information in ways that are perceptive to human beings. And we'll show you we have 12 different visual displays that we use to do that. Then also the interaction capability. And I think the interaction is key because in most settings, a graph or a chart is a manifestation of something done to the data. In our form of information visualization, the displays are the tool with which you query the data. So you may make a selection on a bar chart or see some outliers in a scatter plot. If you circle them with the mouse, you've actually changed the data and then can export the result sets back out to other applications to take action on them. So we are very much an analysis and query instrument as much as just a display. We're adding to our product key variable analytics and segmentation in the summer because that complements directly with the visual display and interaction capabilities. 5 key philosophies I'd like to point out in what we've done is one concept is point and click. Everything we do it can be programmed and assembled and published out with nothing more than a mouse. And I think that's key to getting this kind of technology out to general people trying to make business decisions. We have an analyze, publish, and consume model. So an analyst can be working on a desktop, create an interesting and useful display, and then with a point and click of a mouse, publish it to a server, and it can go out to 1,000 people who can then use it daily for understanding their business environment. A third, and Stephen, you mentioned this, is the concept of perceptually effective displays, not just visually attractive. And I think you'll see in ours and also Tableau's work today, there are displays we won't show, like floating ribbons in front of a grid where you take a line chart and make it look really cool in 3D, but it becomes hard to understand and actually get the measures off the chart. We integrate fully with standard environments. Microsoft Office, you can click and our results will drop into a PowerPoint and create multiple slides. We can publish the PDFs and data back to Microsoft Excel and so forth. So that's part of this whole thing is being able to work in the environments that customers have. And we have packaged our technology into both a developer edition for OEMs where it's programmable with an API. Our standard product in the analyst edition, it's all completely point and click. We are a spin-off from Bell Labs. The technology was developed over 10 years in the 90s. We're on our 5th release, and we have a range of customers in different industries around the globe. And the problem sets run from operational things to sales and marketing to project management to administrative human resources. And we span industries like healthcare, pharmaceutical, financial services, retail, CPG, and so forth. The concept of what we're trying to do is bring business intelligence to normal day-to-day business people. And they are the managers, the call center supervisors, the executives who are actually making the business decisions. And one of our proxies has been that the business intelligence outputs have been too complicated for most people to use, and something new and different is required. And you go back to a lot of business intelligence has been about electrons and data sets and putting things in warehouses and putting them in tables and reports that have been around in form for 10, 20 years. And the issue is, as Stephen also set up, that people look at this stuff and they get ideas in their heads, and that there are therefore much more effective ways to display and communicate the information than the mechanisms that the industry has largely adopted. And that's information visualization, and can have a huge power in getting a human being to actually understand what the data is saying. This chart is actually typical of what we find. Here Norman comes in with all these charts and tables, and he's sitting in front of his management team, and they're asking a simple question: Norman, please tell us, are we doing good or are we doing bad? And I'll give two examples of this. We have a large global company that does significant R&D, and they put in a business intelligence system, and the output was 200 reports for management. And they will joke about putting 15, 20 reports on a conference room table with a highlighter pen and trying to figure out, this chemical in this time period and these process steps, how did it perform against another one? And it's an arduous task, and 200 reports is overkill. We've taken the 200 reports down to 10 to 15 pages in a dashboard, which communicates that same information, but because it's interactive, they can cross-query, cross-tab the different elements and get answers much quicker than ever before. Another example would be, we do a lot of work in healthcare with radiology, oncology clinics, cardiology clinics, and hospitals, and so forth. And there you have a group of people who are well-educated, smart, inquisitive, don't have a lot of systems and data skills. And they want to understand things like, my top 5 grossing physicians, how are they doing in these specific oncology treatment areas, and how does that vary versus maybe my lower grossing physicians? And they can't get it from the 100 reports that these systems put out. We've created a 15-page dashboard, and it's very intuitive and easy, and these frontline managers and executives are now able to understand this information and make much better decisions than ever before. Our platform, which you'll see in a second, at the bottom of the stack, we have data access connectors. So if you're pulling from an Oracle database, you just point and it says Oracle, it brings up the tables, it's load, and it loads into the level above. We have a foundation that's based on .NET with a data pool. You can bring in tables from multiple databases. It might be a customer table from an Oracle database. Maybe there's transactions in a SQL database, and then you can link and join them to create larger tables of the combined of the different entries. I'm going to do a demo where we're going to load in an Excel file, and it's just, point Excel, find the file, load, it comes in. The 4 pillars that we have are display, and we have 12 displays, interaction, we're adding prediction, and results sharing, which is a whole level of interface that lets us really interoperate well with the Microsoft Office and other standard environments. And across the top, a management and security console, because especially if you're deploying out to 1,000 people across an enterprise, that kind of control and security and linking in with all the standards at the corporate level are very important. I want to go quickly through this, but here's a chart that shows our 12 displays. I'll use several of them in the demo. They run the gamut from simple summary tables like a bar chart on the top left to a data sheet, because people do need to see the actual data elements. Down at the bottom, we have a parabox in the lower left, which is a statistical representation. At about 4 o'clock, there's a nodes and links view, which shows relationships really well, and so forth. So we have 12 of these displays, and our view here is that there are a finite set of displays you need to view business data, and you need to do comparisons, some statistics, some summaries, some detail. You don't need 600, but you certainly need more than a bar chart, a pie chart, and a data sheet that's in typical reports. And a lot of our work has been to take and figure out, this combination of displays that are the whole set to doing this. In interaction, we call it visual discovery. On the left, we link our displays by color. We then can link by selection. So in the one in the middle, the pie chart shows grade of gasoline, and the red is regular, the blue is middle grade, the gold is premium. Someone selected Chevron, which is one of the bars. From the pie chart, you quickly see, because that gold wedge is bigger than the others, Chevron sells relatively more premium gas than the other grades. So an insight just by a simple use of color and selection. Then on the right, filtering means we deleted all the other oil companies. So now you're just looking at Chevron's oil mix, and you see premium is about 25% of their total sales. So that's the kind of things you get from interaction. We author these things. On the left, we have 12 visuals, and you'll see this in a demo in just a second. Those are the bar charts, line charts, scatter plots, and so forth. In the middle, we author them into pages where we combine the visuals to address a specific business need or question or type of viewer. And then we hang those pages in the dashboard as tabs. So maybe the first page is revenue by physician. The next page might be revenue by zip code. The third page might be quality by physician. And you can select your 5 top grossing physicians on the first page, select maybe the northeast quadrant of the state on the second page, and then look at quality by disease type on the third page for those physicians in that doing practices in that part of the state. Is that kind of authoring and combination of the visuals that give us the power to do really deep multi-dimensional comparisons. And again, the last thing I want to point out is the analyze, publish, consume model. In many of our customers, there may be 10 or 20 or 30 analysts who are using visualization to really muck through ad hoc query, understand the data. They will then, when they get something that fits a business question that's generic, publish it to a server, and then that gives access to, in some cases, 100, other cases, thousands of managers to get primary information distribution, updated daily, hourly, whatever the period is, to run their business on. And we think that model is key to getting this out in widespread use across the company. Let me shift to the product demonstration. I'm going to do a few clicks in placeware here, so give me 1 second. And I should be sharing. Could somebody tell me if you actually see a spreadsheet up?
See it.
Okay, good. So this is a demo set. It's a spreadsheet of 1,800 mutual funds by name, and then there's a series of characteristics about them, what type they are. They group into 3 or 4 types. They aggregate into 7 subtypes, balanced, international, small cap, so there's some hierarchy to these funds. And there's a series of numeric measures about year-to-date performance, 1-year performance, 10-year performance, volatility, returns since inception, and so forth. It's a small data set. We typically work with hundreds of thousands, millions of rows, but it's illustrative of the kind of problem somebody might have. A stockbroker looking at this, trying to work with his or her customers, might try to figure out, okay, what are the best mix of risk and return where there's some big investments in my portfolio? Really hard to do from a spreadsheet like this. I'm going to now build a visual page and dashboard to help get a better understanding of this. So we're in ADVIZOR now, and I point and click before we started this. I loaded in this Excel table. And I've got 3 views of the data. A fund comparison is page 1, a summary view page 2, and a statistical view page 3. So I'm now performing as the author. And I have these 12 visual displays I can use. Since I'm looking at mutual funds and I want to compare risk and return, a good view to do that is a Scatterplot. So I open the Scatterplot. Got 2 Scatterplots here. It's a place where it's slow. But the Scatterplot opens and it gives me fields I can choose. So from the Excel spreadsheet, it read in the columns. I want to use 3-year performance as the X field. And then there was a volatility field in that spreadsheet, so I'll load that in as the Y field. Now I can set the glyphs or the circles to be dimensioned by one of the other variables and create a bubble chart, and I can shape them by different things. So maybe international funds could be squares, growth funds could be circles. I'm going to leave that off and just bring up a Scatterplot. By itself, that's somewhat helpful because it shows the array of funds from low performance to high performance and low volatility to high volatility. And I see I have a spread. I have an efficient frontier here, which is sort of linear performance of risk and return, but I have a huge scatter up into some of these other quadrants. To get a better understanding of this, let me also bring up a bar chart. I'm going to align the bar chart to the fund subtypes. So there were 7, these funds grouped into 7 fund subtypes. I'm going to leave the measure, I could set the measure by any of the dimensions in there. I'm going to leave it off. It's just going to do numbers or counts. Display them horizontally. So now I have a handle on this. I'm going to bring up one more display to create this page, data sheet, because I actually want to see the specific numbers. And I'm going to bring up 1-year performance, 3-year performance. Fund name is probably a good thing to bring up. Total net assets is probably another good thing, because that's one of the things I knew I wanted to look at. Net assets, and that's probably a good set of dimensions to have in this. So now I have a data sheet. I'm going to bring the fund name over to the left. And I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging because I actually want to give for visual presentation, layout is important, and I want to give the Scatterplot a little more room. So I'll bring the bar chart over here, and then I've given the Scatterplot a little more real estate on the screen. So what I see now is, and I've set my color, I can color by any of the fund fields. It's set by fund subtype. And so this blue, which is balanced, is also the blue in the Scatterplot. So I immediately see that my balance are in a fairly tight distribution on the Scatterplot. That's linking by color. I also see that I've got these orange funds skew way up. They're in a fairly tight band of performance, but they've got a wide range of volatility. Orange is small cap, so I've learned something by just the use of color. But these are also linked. So here's one that's really doing badly. It's up in the top left, and when I put the mouse on it, it's a default label because I just felt I could have had more come up on that brush up if I had gone beyond that. But it links to the bar chart and points out it as a growth fund. Then if you look at the data sheet in the lower left, it brought this to the top, so I see that it's the Stedman Tech Fund, and it gives me the terrible performance statistics of that particular fund. The one that looks like it's doing the best is way over here on the right. This is an international fund from the bar chart, and it's a GMO emerging country in the data sheet. So I can quickly see outliers by just the linkage. Now, what I actually want to do is understand the funds on this efficient frontier. So I'm going to just circle that with the mouse, which is a selection. Now I see that subpopulation in the context as a whole. And because I have the other visuals up, I can quickly go to the bar chart and see that it's dominated. The blue is the biggest single part that colors off what I didn't select. The blue dominates that frontier, and 94% of the balanced funds are in that frontier. The second biggest one is the growth funds, and 42% of them are in this frontier and so forth. So I've quickly got a real understanding of the makeup of funds in this frontier. Now, this is what I'm interested in, so I can go up here and just with a point of a mouse I can exclude what I selected or exclude what I didn't select. I'm going to exclude what I didn't select. So now I've subsetted the data down to just the funds in that frontier. By the way, trying to do a query off a data sheet or a database call to get that frontier, it's really hard. Visually, it's really easy because you just circle what you want. And another thing I want is the bigger net asset position. So I can sort my data sheet by net asset and just grab the top 10 or 15. Let's see where they are. Well, they're now colored, and they sort of scan across this, this frontier. And let me just get down to those. So now I have the biggest asset positions, which are generally over $9 billion on this efficient frontier. It was just a matter of minutes to go from start to finish to do this analysis. Now that I'm done with this, I have several options. I can export the data to Excel or comma delimited or database. So if I went through this tab, it would actually take these 10 or 15 funds and dump them out of Advisor into Excel. I can also export the presentation. So I can take this presentation and make a web page out of it, send it to Adobe and create a PDF, put it in a Word document, or put it in a PowerPoint presentation. And if I could have actually set several bookmarks and have a 10-page PowerPoint or a 5-page PowerPoint, which I could then edit and present out a PowerPoint out of this. I've also got a couple other things I want to show. This is a fund comparison with some detail in it. The concept of the pages is, and let me just bring up another page, and maybe I have a viewer who the scatter and the data sheet are too much. They like pie charts, and that's about all they can handle. So I'm going to open up a pie chart and connect it to fund subtype. And now I have a different look at that same data. And this is interactive, so if I want to select the capital appreciation balance funds out of this, I can go back to the fund comparison, and there they are. Actually, let me bring all the data back. I'm going to restore the excluded data and reselect all. And maybe I want to see in a different view what's in this top right quadrant. Circle with the mouse. The simple summary view shows that that is heavily the small caps, because that's the orange, none of the balance, and reasonable percentages of some of the others. So it's a different way of seeing the same data for a different type of viewer. And the beauty of what we have is they're interacting together, so you can select on one and then see the results in the other. Now maybe I got a hardcore analyst in the group and really wants to go in and understand these funds. So there's a statistical view, which is a richer view called the parabox. And in this view, I've got the funds grouped by fund subtype as circles, and the coloring is the selection I have in that top right quadrant. Here's all the fund names, and here's each of the funds. Each fund is a line, so this green line coming up here is one of these funds. And it shows how it performs on 10-year performance, 5-year performance, 3-year performance, 1-year performance, the beta. All these dimensions are up here for each of the funds in that quadrant. So what I might want to do here is change my the way I interact so to intersect and do a little rectangle here and grab the top performers for 10 years. And by the way, this bar, the gray part shows the mean and median, one standard deviation up for the whole population. The little one behind the data up here shows the subsetted populations. I've selected the group that's generally more than one standard deviation off the norm for 10-year performance out of that top right quadrant. I can also say, and what are the ones that have the top 5-year performance, and also the top 3-year performance. And I'm getting down to a very limited number, so let's stop there. So here are, looks like 4 funds out of this whole grouping, and they're all small cap and growth, that have the best 10-year, the best 5-year, the best 3-year performance. And by the way, they're also above the mean and standard deviation on 1 year, although not as much. I could see that they're above on beta. They're about in line on expense ratio, which is good. They're in line on net assets, and none of the big net asset positions are in that group. But they are higher in volatility, but within the first deviation of the whole population. I've just learned a tremendous amount about my best performing funds over this whole period, in a form that would be really hard to get using traditional reports and displays. And by the way, if I want to go back to the summary view and see what I got, it's a little bit of my small cap and a little bit of my growth. And in the overall fund comparison, I can see here are those 4 funds up in the top right quadrant, and here they are on the data sheet. And at this point, I could export them out and take action on them somewhere else. The last thing I want to show is now I've done my analysis. I've set up this dashboard with 3 pages. I can publish it. So I'm going to publish all of the 3 perspectives or pages, and I'm going to put them up on a server. I'm going to enter a page name, so we'll just put something in. And so I'm now done with my analysis. I want to send this out to 1,000 people. And right now it's converting it over, and there's a server running on this laptop it's going to publish it to. Looks like it's turning on the IIS server. And then I'll get a URL back, which I could email out to a large group of people. And so this is what it returns as a URL. If I click on this, and this could be in an email, I'm going to get, it's in the, here it comes. It's opening up an IE browser, connecting with the server. Now this is published out, and this could be over the extranet, over the internet. It's just a zero footprint IE browser. There's no software running locally, and I've cleaned up, there's no authoring capabilities, what we call consumption, but all the selections turned on. So I can grab the top right quadrant. I can grab the lower left quadrant. I can grab international and balanced and treasuries and see how they perform. So with this, I've now got the ability to do this visual display and interaction out to large numbers of people across my company, and I can set this so there's updates hourly, daily, or whatever, so it's constantly refreshed with the right data. And that's sort of full cycle from visual analysis at the desktop level out, so it's an operating tool for large numbers of people across the company. And that's sort of our story, and we think we can really improve the way companies like the large pharma chemical company I discussed, instead of having 200 reports, they have one of these dashboards with 2 or 3, 12, 15 tabs that consolidate the information, make it much easier to understand, and let them interact with it in a meaningful way so that they can answer their questions themselves. And that's our story.